Thank you, John. We'll start with Neil Davidson from Canadian Press, please.
Hi, John.
Hey, Neil.
You said before the game you thought it might take your team a few minutes to get into the rhythm of things. What did you think of the early going? It's a pretty frenetic evening.
Yeah, it was. I thought the first 15 minutes we started well, and it looked like, we were going to create something, and then you've seen, what they're about. They're very good in that attacking transition. The minute you lose the ball, they're swarming, and I thought we weathered some of their storms well, but it was just that middle of the first half. We just got too static. The tempo was slow. You could sense that lack of chemistry with that group. Quite a lot of new faces playing together. So game one on a journey, a marathon of 14. That second half is what I'll look to. I mean, I'm again, Neil, proud of just how they responded, because you could sense they were coming in at halftime and they were, pissed off with the referee. They were, angry with, bits of the calls and getting frustrated. But, the leaders in the dressing room, they steadied the ship. And again, we made some adjustments, and I think you got to see the real potential of this team in the second half.
We'll go to Derek Van Dice, Post Media, please.
John, how you doing?
Hey, Derek.
That looked like it was a fun evening. I know there was a lot of intensity, a lot of anxiety, but that's CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, isn't it? That you need to play those games to understand what they're like, and you're going to get frustrated with the refs. You're going to get, you're going to lose your composure sometimes. But how important was it for your team to experience that and now know, okay, this is what it's like when you're playing life and death World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah, it was, it was at halftime. That's where they felt it. Those boys, it was almost like coming in at halftime, like a holy shit moment. Like, wow, this is real. I think the fantasy was we were going to get out there and it was going to be a ticky-tack evening, and we were going to score 15 goals by halftime. But the reality was, that Honduran team were well organized. Their medium block, the low block was tight. They didn't give anyone an inch. And I thought they thrived on just that lack of, you could feel it, that lack of chemistry, that lack of cohesion in the first half. But as I say, you heard the leaders speak at halftime. They really took ownership of what they needed to see. And we made some tactical adjustments with Hoylett coming in, and you could just sense we needed that extra player to overload their two midfield screens who had just found it too easy to match up against Johnny and Kyle and Fonzie. So, yeah, I think those are the experiences. The piece that, stood out most was Milan at the end. I mean, his passion in the huddle was exactly that. For you boys that haven't experienced this before, this is what it's like. At times you'll feel like you're playing against 14 players. It was so much passion. But what he did say is, look, this is the next level and we've got to find our next level. And it's the start of a journey. And we've got the ability to get better. That's the exciting thing for us.
Thank you. Next. Thanks, Derek. We'll go to Joshua Cloak next, please.
Thanks. John, one player that I thought looked really composed throughout the entire game was Stefan Eustáquio. From your perspective, what makes him just such a valuable part of this team, especially on nights like this where it did seem pretty frenetic at times?
Well, I think, again, that particularly the second half, we just made those little tactical adjustments to try and roll him out into pockets of spaces where he could feel the ball. In the first half, I just felt the tempo was a little bit slow around the back. So for Atiba and Steph, those centre forwards weren't getting drawn out, and there just wasn't those spaces that they'd visualise getting on the ball. But I think those little adjustments showed that when we can find him, he can be such a key player for us, dictating the tempo of the game. A cool, calm, collected guy. And he has that warrior spirit, as you see him with the continual fighting for a small guy. Yeah, he's right in that fight.
Thank you. We'll go to John Molinaro next.
Thanks, Sandra. John, you talked about it being a game of two halves and, making switches at halftime. I'm just wondering how much did the introduction of Junior Hoylett for Tajon Buchanan tip things in?
Yeah, look, first off, we couldn't exploit that width. I mean, we were, looking at playing a zonal 4-4-2, quite a narrow structure, but they did a good job of just loosening the fullbacks up and then doubling up against, both Fonzie and Tajon. So it was, after the first 15 minutes, I thought they adapted really well to that. And then we just couldn't get the tempo of that ball circulating. Again, it's just the feeling of playing rhythm with guys that you're used to playing with week in, week out. And I think by half time, Junior coming in, he was able to just create that +1, that extra player that we needed in and around their midfield screens. And again, when they started to loosen the fullbacks off and deal with those wide players, then Junior could find little pockets of space on the side. So, yeah, I think he was critical, but you see his composure as well. I think that's the mark of a really top player. Whenever it came into him, the ball just stuck, and then he moved it with that sort of precision that Junior Hoylett for.
Thank you. We have 2 more questions. We'll go to Moses Waldo next, please.
Thank you, Sandra. Good evening, John. Just kind of just touching on what John was mentioning about Junior Hoylett and the substitution that was made at halftime. I know you have 3 games in a week's time, so bodies are going to be or need to be preserved in these cases. I don't know if maybe perhaps kind of sitting out, at least having Hoylett coming in and Tajon sit out was also a factor in that, knowing that you have games, especially with the US coming up.
Yeah, I mean, Tajon's an absolute warrior. His performances in the Gold Cup were brilliant, and he's going to be ready and fresh for the next couple of games. So I mean, I think that's part of this journey. We're not making decisions in that moment to start resting players because the 3 points was what we wanted to get after tonight. But at the same time, he'll be focused and ready to go again.
And just lastly for me, if you don't mind, just in that final third, everything seemed to be clicking except just that finish. And I know there's a lot of times where you're on the bench on the touchline and you're just thinking, oh, if we just got a little more oomph on that. But is there certain positives you can take out of that? And you're like, it's only just a centimeter or 2 away, rather than just think we may have just dropped 2 points tonight.
Yeah, and I say it's going to be a marathon. We got a long way to go. The first game at home, it was a 3-point focus, but these boys were, in a number of occasions, an inch away from making it one of those nights where the crowds go home very happy. And Honduras had their chance as well, and that's Canada. We're not going to be defending deep for games, and particularly at home and bunkering in. We're going to get on the front foot, and that'll give the opportunities to opponents on another night. That second half, that's maybe 2-3 goals, and all the fans, everyone's going home with 3 points in the bag and pretty happy. So, I think the chemistry will come with the team, particularly with not only the 2 games in this window, but the fact it's a 3-week turnaround going into the next round of games. So, the key for us is, look, we've had a drop of 2 points tonight, and we're going to make them up now. So that's the exciting challenge for the group.
Thank you. And last question, Alexandra, please.
Thanks, Sandra. John, just wanted to ask, you got some strong options, obviously, on the bench, 5 subs. You went for 2 tonight. You're kind of keeping an eye maybe on the US with that one?
Yeah, look, everything's in my mind when it comes to these 3 matches, players that we've got to keep fresh. But as I said, it was a 3-point focus. So, you've got that in your mind to say, we knew Honduras were going to be tough tonight. Our history tells us those games aren't easy. And we'd all dreamed, I guess, of being up at half time by 3 goals, and then your resting strategies are in place. But this is CONCACAF football, as someone said right at the beginning. So, you know, for us, these guys are going to be warriors. They'll patch themselves back up. We'll take every game like it's our last, and we'll be given everything. So, you know, some of these guys will recover and do the work to reset themselves for the USA.
If you don't mind just me sneaking in a follow-up, because I figured you might want to talk about him. How big was Alastair Johnston tonight, and what did you see from him at the back there?
Again, just a warrior, absolute warrior. I mean, that lad is he epitomizes, I think, what this team's about. He's not just a traditional sort of centre back that can, you know, head it and tackle. He's got that precision in his pass. He's got the ability to slip pressure, and then he's got the flexibility to join on that flank. You know, and I think that's when we get this team into that more rhythm, more training, more games, I think you'll start to see more flow from Alastair in what he's going to bring to the team.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you. That concludes the part of the conference.